Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to DJ Music's Issues and Answers here, folks. Got some hot topics here for you today. We're going to be talking about LeBron James and the N-word. We're going to go around and we're going to talk about some other videos that I've run across that some folks have sent me to post and talk about there. So for about the next, I guess, hour or so, I'll try and entertain you and keep you riveted, and maybe I'll ask some questions. If you like what I got to say, or if you don't like what I got to say, go ahead and comment down there in the below box over there. Like, subscribe. Don't like, subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do what you do. But just hear me out before you decide to make a decision about what you felt I said right or wrong on either accord there, folks. Again, your nighttime, right time DJ, MuziQ here. I know you folks probably was expecting me to play a little freaking music here today, didn't you? That's not that type of show here today, folks. Actually, I'm going to be talking about the issues that's going on here in my community. You know, there's two separate sides. This guy that you call DJ Music. One of them is that radio personality where I try and keep things on an even keel. On the other side is that closely resemblance to who and what and the trials and tribulations that I go through each and every day. You know, DJ Music is just that, folks. He's just a personality. He really doesn't, he doesn't get out much. You know, he's kind of got this little studio and he hangs out. But that other guy that brings DJ Music to you each and every night, he does get out. And he does see the world. And he does hear how the world reacts back and forth to things like Trump or to things like LeBron James getting the N-word painted on him. You know, I'm going to start off with that first and foremost simply because there was some guy out here, folks, that said LeBron James, because of his stature, because of his money, is exclusive, or that he should recluse himself from racism. Are you have to be absolutely positively kidding me that another black man can say that about another black man? There's no one in this country that's safe from this the outreach and the reach of racism, because it's everywhere. It's in every corner of American society, folks. In every corner. You cannot turn a corner in Somerville, South Carolina, or in Seattle, Washington, and not find someone of a different color that hasn't experienced some racism in this country. I don't care. That's bar none. I don't care what anyone says. And what people always say, why is racism such a hot topic? Why don't folks just leave it alone? Why you guys always got to talk about this, man? It pisses me off. It upsets me. What about talking about racism upsets most folks? It's called the truth. That's the part about talking about racism that folks don't want to own up to and man up to in some cases. The truth. Because of LeBron James's money, he is reclused from racism. Well, let's talk about as the President of the United States, Barack Obama. Think how many times that man was shouted at the N-word. Think how many times, folks, that President Barack Obama got death threats. His family was called. Damn this. Let's stop being a little political correct here, because that's you guys was listening to DJ Music. You're talking to music now. Damn that. That was the President Barack Obama was the most disrespected president in history, simply because he was black. Nothing more. Not because of his politics, not because of his policies, not because of his educational background, not because he went to school, not because he smoked pot, nothing. He was the most hated man in America simply because he was in the highest office in the land and he was the president and he was black. That's something that white America not stomach, the majority of white America. I'm not going to put no freaking disclaimer on this because I don't need to. You don't need to put disclaimer on truth. Truth don't need no alibi. The great Tupac said that. Yeah, that's right. I said it because that was a great man. He had some problems with all great men. You're going to tell me Leonardo da Vinci didn't have problems? Michelangelo didn't have problems? But what I want to do first of all, first and foremost, we wanna start with LeBron James, and I'm gonna go to this clip, folks, of this man saying, I'm gonna get you his name here in just a second. And let me pull up my history file here, because I saved this last night because I knew I was going to want to talk about this sometime. Actually, I started to talk about this probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, probably about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because I was up pretty late last night, and I was going to talk about this a little bit. And I said, no, I want to think about this with a clear head. First of all, let's hear LeBron James's words as he spoke. Okay, and then we'll hear what the guy has to say about LeBron well, actually, I can't go back too far into. Here we go. Here he is right here. The gentleman's name is Jason Whitlock, folks. And if all you that's in the media, around the media, blogging and all that, you probably heard of this guy. He's on ESPN a lot, and a lot of people call Jason Whitlock a coon. You know what the word coon is. We all familiar with it. We all know what we're talking about. Say he's a coon. Having a little water there so I don't get too dried up there as I'm speaking. You know what I'm saying, folks? But he call a man a coon simply because when he talks about Black America, he talks about him, and when he talks about particularly Black sports America, he kind of talks about them in a downtrodden kind of way. And a lot of people call him the fat Stephen A. Smith. Of course, well, if you know who Stephen A. Smith is, he's another one of these so-called coons that folks say that instead of uplifting Black America, they do everything they can because that's what they get paid to. That's their opinion. But anyway, I'm sure what got me to be on the side of those folks' opinion is this clip right here. I didn't do too much research on Jason Whitlock because I don't like to get into that controversial kind of stuff that, another black man downgrade another black man on national TV. You see that every day. We're almost numb to that. We're used to that. That's not nothing new. Let's get that straight in the black community. That's not nothing new. We always got them house niggas. Since the end of time, since the beginning of slavery, we've always had them house niggas who thought by getting close to the master, something was going to be better for him. He was going to get a little better treatment from the master. And that's the same thing that's going on, whether we're way back there in the 1800s or the 2000s. It's the same freaking thing, folks. But this guy, Jason Whitlock, this is why I would call him a house nigga. Just simply, I want you to hear what he says, and then you'll understand why folks think that way. Okay? 1 second, I'm pulling it up right now. So with that, well, again, thank everyone for anyone that's listening, and thank you very much for tuning in.
To poor black people, they think that those problems are exclusive to those people. That's the way they think. So they are
actually,
a huge problem.
I know where I found this. I'm going to pause this a second.
In the black community.
I know where I found this. I found this I found out about Jason Whitlock's comments from a big shout out to Mr. Willie D. Willie D. He's a great YouTuber. Well, I won't say he's a great YouTuber because as far as views and all that's concerned, I guess you will look at it in that area that he is a great YouTuber. But to me, I don't understand how that this Jason Whitlock can say what he says. So what we'll do is, so this is kind of like a threefold thing, and I'll have to use the fair use rule on this there, Mr. Willie D there. I do apologize for jacking your podcast there, but sometimes it's good to have a third person's opinion of it, and then you can hear my opinion, you can hear Willie D's opinion. So we're going to start with Mr. Willie D, and then we'll go from there. So here we go, Willie D.
What's up, family? Media hoe, hungry hippo, and career slave Jason Whitlock is at it again. This time he called LeBron James too rich to feel racism. His comments come after LeBron James made a statement about his California home being vandalized and graffiti with the N-word. LeBron spoke about the incident and brought up the story of Emmett Till's mother, who chose to have an open casket funeral for a 14-year-old son who was disfigured and lynched. This is what LeBron James had to say. Racism will always be part of the world, a part of America. Hate in America, especially for African Americans, is living every day, even though it's concealed most of the time. No matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America is tough. Now, Whitlock took issue with that statement, supposedly because he didn't appreciate LeBron James analogizing graffiti to murder. But y'all know that's a lie. That fucker knew exactly what LeBron James meant. LeBron James was talking about the value in showing the world what it's like to be black, to live as a black person, the ongoing reality of a black person living in America. I'm gonna play this video clip for y'all. Leave your comments and I'll come back with mine.
So let's start with your initial reaction when you saw the racial slurs had been written on LeBron's LA home not far from here.
You know, I think it's a disrespectful inconvenience for LeBron James. I think that this is...
Folks, I couldn't turn my mic on fast enough. That's the first thing that got me. When he first said that, you know, I looked at this clip and I had to start it over a couple of times, because how could the man open up with, you already knew that he was going to do everything he possibly could to undermine what LeBron James was talking about. How is it he said that it was an inconvenience? I want to play that again. This man said it was an inconvenience.
Inconvenience for LeBron James.
Wait a minute. Let's play that all the way back to it.
Written on LeBron's
Here we go.
LA home not far from here.
You know, I think it's a disrespectful inconvenience. You know, I think it's a disrespectful inconvenience.
With your initial reaction when you saw the racial slurs had been written on LeBron's LA home not far from here.
You know, I think it's a disrespectful inconvenience.
That's what I wanted you guys to hear over and over and over. A disrespectful inconvenience. Isn't that an oxymoron? A disrespectful inconvenience. You'll hear a whole lot of folks describe inconvenience in a whole lot of ways, but disrespectful is not one of them, especially when it comes to getting the nigger word painted on your front door. That's not an inconvenience at all. That is downright somebody invading your fucking privacy. That is someone invading your private space. That is someone that could get 50 bullets put up his ass with no problem, and you had every right to do it. Now, if LeBron James would have came home and saw whoever that was vandalizing his property break out a gun and shoot him, the world would have been probably screaming bloody murder. Or he could have done something else other than shot him. But it was a disrespectful inconvenience. You'll hear this man later on say, well, he wasn't even home. Just because his wife and his children weren't, and LeBron wasn't in their respective home in Los Angeles, that makes that situation any better. Suppose his wife and his children were there by themselves. Would the situation have been different? If the person that was so brazen to go up into, he didn't choose your average Joe to go paint the N-word on, whether they thought it was a joke or whether whoever did this was to initiate controversy or to be downright, I won't say just downright nasty. It's not a disrespectful inconvenience, Jason Whitlock. Some people like this need to be taken off TV. Some people that have platforms like this have no right, have no place to be broadcast over the air like this. Especially when it comes to ESPN, Fox News. They get folks like Jason Whitlock on there and they pay them huge sums of money to do everything they possibly can to break that, to make sure that Black America is talked about in the worst way at all. Again, if you heard me before, this goes all the way back to that movie, The Birth of a Nation, folks. Everything that you see going on right now on mainstream media and in the social networks and all that, all of this can be derived from that one movie. You can break down how it is that you say, how is the racism keeps growing more and more every year, because as long as that movie's in circulation somewhere, that is everything has a blueprint. Every building has a blueprint. And one of the blueprints for racism in America is The Birth of a Nation, the original Birth of a Nation. Someone had to teach their children that black people are wrong. Somebody had to teach black children of a different race that black people are inherently wrong. It starts on two sides. The young white child learns that, and also the young black child learns that. But they learn about it in two different aspects. So I'm going to let Mr. Jason Whitlock finish his statement, and I'm going to rip into his ass some more.
For LeBron James, I think that this is where I struggle with LeBron James. He has fallen into the far left trap of there's value in embracing your victimhood. And so LeBron, I watched his press conference. I saw it yesterday, saw it again today. And his comments analogizing any part of this to Emmett Till is preposterous.
Now, inform our audience of that.
Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago who went to visit his uncle in the 1950s.
I know I'm probably going to stop this from time to time. I know I should let him talk a little bit more, but if I was in the room with him, I would have said, ho, Jason, stop. But as you see, ESPN, that announcer, he was invoking this chatter from Jason Whitlock. That's exactly what he did. It's what you call that old. Well, you know what? If I say this is the cue. Who don't know what really? Who doesn't know of Emmett Till that lives in this country? You have to be a pretty young age, but most people from the age of 35 to from 40 on down know who Emmett Till is. Most of the people that watch these shows like this know who Emmett Till was, know what his mother did. His mother simply wanted folks to see what the effects of racism was in our country, because simply this, at some point in time, some white chick said that a young 14-year-old boy whistled at her across the street, didn't say nothing to her, didn't touch her, whistled at her. And that's what folks don't understand is it's not that if he did whistle at her, did he deserve what happened to him? Did he deserve for someone to castrate him, to shoot him, to drown him, to disfigure his body so much that he was unrecognizable? The last thing that they did was tie some heavy weight onto him, hoping that his body would never be discovered. But karma has a funny way of rectifying every wrongdoing. And it took karma almost 40 years for this white lady, before she died, to say that whole story was a farce. Emmett Till didn't no more whistle at her than a man walking on the moon. And there's folks like Jason Whitlock, Stephen A. Smith, this sheriff, or this black sheriff that's always on Fox News. It's folks like these that decrease the value of what happened to Emmett Till, of why his mother did what she did, why LeBron James decided to come on public news and say, this is what happened to me. What he was saying, folks, that even though I go to millions, I go to sellout arenas every night, I walk through crowds and people are bucking for my autograph. People drink Sprite because of me. But there's one thing that and I got it, and this been ringing in my ear all week since I heard Shannon Sharp say it. One thing that you can't outplay, one thing that you can't outmaneuver, one thing that you can't outrun is the color of your skin. And sooner or later, at some point in time, in white supremacist America, they remind LeBron James, O.J. Simpson, Tiger Woods, that yeah, we'll take you into our fold, but when we're done with you, at the end of the day, you're still black. And you're just a visitor. You that house nigga that we need for a little while. Think about this, folks. And I say this again. Back when Tiger was the shit and making all that money for the PGA Tour, that the galleries was stretched down or throughout there just to see a black man conquer a white ball. But when his golfing days was done, what happened to Tiger Woods? Drunk behind the wheel? And it's all over the internet now. They show him as this they do any other black man. What happened to O.J. Simpson? They actually arrested him for going back and getting his shit. They couldn't get him for murder, so they arrested him from going to a public hotel room and hijacking this very same motherfuckers that hijacked him. It wasn't a sting operation when they stole OJ's stuff, but it was a sting operation to get OJ because he was going to confront the folks who stole the stuff. I would have broken into that room the same fucking way. What the hell? You got my shit, and I see you with it, and you trying to sell my shit. I'm busting your ass, I'm busting your ass, I'm busting your ass, I'm busting your ass, I'm busting your ass. That's real life there, folks. It ain't no, come here, man, let me give you some money because you came to my house and stole my memorabilia at one time or the other. So let me pay you a couple $1,000s to get it back. That's not how it works, folks. That's not how it goes. We know that. I'm gonna go back to this coon, Jason Whitlock here.
In Money, Mississippi. Money, Mississippi is probably the dumbest name ever to call that city Money. It should have been called No Money, Mississippi. Very poor, depressed area, about 300-400 people, a one industry town, poor people live there. Emmett Till had an interaction with a white woman and was brutally murdered by her husband and her husband's half-brother. Brutally murdered. 14-year-old boy, allegedly because he may have whistled at the woman, but we come to find out later he did not. Brutally murdered. It's one of the most tragic historic events in African-American history. There's no analogy between that
okay, I'm going to stop
and what
you right
happened
here.
to LeBron James.
Okay, notice how he kind of danced around that. He used the word allegedly too many times. Supposedly. You notice how I described what happened to Emmett Till? There's no way that you can, that he, as a black man, especially at his age, should have bounced around that subject. He should have said it for just as I did. Emmett Till was brutally murdered by a white guy because his wife went home and told him, because she thought that she had nothing else to think, that nothing else to say to her husband at that time than other than some nigger kid whistled at me. That's the deep-seated root, the deep-seated root of racism, folks. That's racism at its best, because that's how it starts. That's how black men get lynched. On a word. Not by their actions, on a word. Or in this case, some words. Do you think this woman went home and said, "Hey, honey, what you want for dinner?" And after that she said, "Oh, by the way, baby, I was down there by the market and some young nigger boy whistled at me." No, she was, this was when she saw Emmett Till. Emmett Till directly was in her sights. That's all she thought about on the way to seeing her husband. I'm going to tell, just because I can, I'm going to tell him, my husband, that Emmett Till, this nigger boy down the street at the market, whistled at me. And today that's called malice. That took forethought, because I'm sure her husband wasn't there, or whatever the situation was. If she had to go tell him, he wasn't present he wasn't present. And then they go hunt this boy down, take him, snatch him, kill him, maim him, damn near dismember him, all on some white woman's word. That's what Jason Whitlock should have said. But because ESPN and these folks here are paying him money, he decides to dress it up in white world instead of history itself as it really was. Because what I just told you was history. What he told you was whitewash. Just like a whole lot of other shit that goes on around here. Whitewashed. To make folks feel, to make it a little bit more easy for you to stomach what happened. That's what Jason Whitlock did. Let's get back to it.
He allegedly had the N-word spray painted on his $20 million Brentwood home. He wasn't there. His family wasn't there. He heard about it. He's on stage. "Oh, my family's safe." From what? Spray paint? They're in Cleveland. Again, I don't want... Racism is an issue in America, but it is primarily an issue for the poor. It's not LeBron James's issue.
Y'all hear this fool? He called LeBron James' home being vandalized a disrespectful inconvenience. How stupid do you have to be to fix your mouth to say something like that? Even if you're not black, you got to know that that is some real dumb shit to say.
Listen, that wasn't me, folks. That was Willie Dean. I couldn't have not ended that or said that any better. How stupid can you be? I want to backtrack on that a little bit. First of all, he said that racism is primarily an issue for the poor. What the fuck is he talking about? You see, that's what I'm saying, folks. When you put people, when you give people a platform and they don't use that platform in the right way, that's the most dangerous thing that could happen to black America sometimes. Now, Jason Whitlock, what the fuck, man? What could you have possibly been thinking about just now when you said that? What could you have possibly have thought about when you said that racism is an issue that's primarily for the poor? And to back up a little further, when LeBron James said on national TV, "Is my family okay?" and you had the gall, or as we like to say in our community, the unmitigated gall, to say from spray paint, You know, when I hear the name, when I hear your name now, the next word that I expect to hear is thrashing. Because it's coons like you, that's what got niggas whipped out and whipped back in the slavery days. Master, you should give him a thrashing. That's what I expected to hear from you next. That nigga done got out of line. Steven, y'all seen the Django. Who that nigga on that nag? He gonna sleep in the big house? Oh Lord. Come on, folks. This ain't this. I'm not making none of this stuff up. You heard what that man said. You heard what he said, folks. Come on. From spray paint. That's where it starts at. First they give you a warning and be coming to get you. In some cases they give you a warning. Emmett Till didn't get no warning. Philando Castile didn't get no warning. Walter Scott didn't get no warning. The kid that officer unloaded 16 rounds in and shot him while he was on the ground with the coup de grace shot to the head. He didn't get no warning. Sandra Bland didn't get no warning. The list goes on of people who didn't get a warning. LeBron James got a warning that you are still black in this country, and we're going to let you know tonight that you are. Whether it's a $20 million home or $79,000 trailer. The sanctity of that man's home has been violated. And I would not blame him if he didn't put that shit on the market tonight. I know I would have. My family wouldn't stay there no more, especially if I had the means to pick up and move. A lot of our folks don't have that means. LeBron James is one of those fortunate African Americans that got paid for his talents. I'm going to tell you. Here's a little story, folks, and you can fact check this all you want to. The very way that you ship packages internationally in the United States of America, if you go right now to any mailbox, etc., any post office right now, when you sign for something, or if you ship it through UPS or whatever, that came from my fucking brain. Me and 6 other individuals is the reason why you're able to ship packages internationally and receive them overnight. You'll never hear my name mentioned in any commercial, because they took my brain under the guise of the United States Marine Corps. This is the job that I want to get. I want you to figure out the best way to make this work. You write down what you do every day. And in 30 days, I'm going to come back and I want you to give me a report, and I'm going to compile all this information from you, and that's we're going to make a test run of it and see how it works. When my usefulness was done, that they couldn't use me anymore, they decided to take everything from me on some bullshit ass charge. The reason why you ship packages the way you do from FedEx, UPS, Airborne, the postal system came from my brain. Mark Paul's brain. Robert W. Claxton's brain. Gunnery Sergeant P.W. Malone's brain. Gunnery Sergeant Harold brain. Corporal Matthew, I forgot his last name. But we are the reason why. But 86% of that information, that the reason why you do the way you do now, folks, is because of me. Talk about your living hidden history. And you got guys like Jason Whitlock that can get on TV and disrespect blacks the way he does. And it take guys like me and Willie D. At some point in time, Dr. Boyce Watkins. At some point in time, even I don't agree with this man. Sometimes, folks, Tommy Sotomayor, he's gotten to the point to where he's got a little carried away with his stuff. I'm gonna say that right now. He got a little carried away, Tommy. No, I host my own radio show every night, and I think I do pretty well at playing music. I don't turn that into a political forum because I understand that's the time for me to entertain my audience. I don't like to entertain my audience with rhetoric. If there's some breaking news, we'll stop and we'll talk about it. Or if I'll give a deciding time to where we're going to talk about issues like this. I needed a different platform to express exactly how I felt and why I felt without imposing my views on someone else. And that's the problem with folks like Jason Whitlock. You get on a platform and you impress your views on someone else because you have a captive audience like ESPN viewers. 90%. Now, who you think watches ESPN? Go Google the demographics of who watch ESPN, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Who do you think 99% of the sponsors of ESPN in this? Fox News. Go look. Here's the thing. I want just a minute. I want to step aside from this racism thing. I want to talk about just a little bit of black people in general, sports guys in general. On baseball teams, basketball teams, football teams, we even got a hockey player. Golf. Think how much they pay these athletes per year. Between Kevin Durant, let me think of another baseball player. Just any C quality baseball player. Let's see. Let's take a football player. Between just pick any football player, and you get their combined yearly 5 year. If they're good, if they're great, their 5-year contract. Remember, A-Rod signed a contract when he went from Texas. Wait a minute, folks. I got to check on my pooch is loose. Chopper! Anarchy! And he's someplace where he shouldn't. Come out of there. Come out of there right now. I'm going to let you listen to Mr. Willie D for a second while I handle this slight problem there, folks. I'll be right back.
Got the nerve to have KRS-One as his profile pic on Twitter. Yeah, go figure. This is a dude that never misses an opportunity to throw black people under the bus. And he loves to say whatever a black person does, it makes all black people look bad. It sends out the wrong message to black people. Bitch, you ain't been black in decades. What are you talking about? But you're going to learn. Yeah, you ain't been black on the inside in decades, but you're going to learn one of these days. You're going to learn what it is. You're going to feel it real hard. I'm sure you already feel it, but see, just like a number of these other coons out there, you in so deep, you so far gone that you can't come back. You're not going to be accepted. So you got to play the card all the way through. You got to play the hand all the way out. You have no choice. You've burned that bridge and you can't cross back over, and you know that. So you got to stick with it. So even when you face racism, you're not going to let us know. When it really come at your ass real hard, you're not going to let us know. You're going to keep on going and act like it don't exist and keep on collecting that paycheck. That's what you're going to do.
Y'all heard what my man said. That's what he's going to keep on doing. You're going to keep on collecting that paycheck. And that brings me right in back to what I was saying. I do apologize for that, but I had to. I got a young mixed breed here, and I like to keep him inside while during the most of the day, because it really gets hot down here in South Carolina. And so I have so many wires and things hanging around, and of course small dogs, well, young puppies. So he's not a small dog by no stretch, but they like to chew on things, and I would hate to for him to chew on something important. Say hi, Chopper. Say hi, Chopper. There you go. All right, good boy. Anyway, folks, stop it. Okay. Anyhow. Back to what I was saying there, folks. Okay, you got all these athletes, and let's say they put, you get 5 of these athletes, right? And you put them all together. Don't you think that they could build houses, build feed a whole lot of people? Don't you think that they could take their collective earnings, some like I said in the case of Derek Jeter, when he moved from A-Rod, I'm sorry, when he moved from the Texas Rangers to the Yankees, he got a $125 million contract. You think he spent all that money yet? $125 million for 9 innings of baseball. Yeah, I know they play a lot of games, but I play 120 some games a year. Think about it. The baseball season is not very long, so maybe 4 or 5 months out of the year you're playing. 3-4 months out of the year you're playing baseball. And 5 months best if you're practicing and all that other stuff. But how much practice does it really take if you're a pro athlete? How much practice does it really take to play baseball, folks? I played baseball a lot when I was a kid, and I don't remember going out too many times. Yeah, if you could swing, you could swing. But I don't remember going too many times going out practicing for baseball. I never played it. On a how do you say that, at that kind of level, competitive level? I just played the game because I loved it. Just like basketball, I just played the game because I liked it. But this thing, you take the starting 5 from the Golden State Warriors right now. They could open up a bank, make small interest. They could make small interest loans to the black community themselves. You can go get 5 of the top black NFL players. They could open up a bank and go to some of these communities that's just dying for opportunity. And when I say dying, because they're killing each other, because that's all they have to rob each other. They can't move out of their own neighborhoods. They can't move out of their own neighborhoods. They can't leave their own neighborhoods simply because they don't have the means, and they don't have the resources to do it. A lot of people don't live in the hoods, folks, because they want to. Some, believe it or not, even in the trailer parks in the South and rural West Virginia and stuff like that, a lot of people don't live in these trailer parks because they want to. That's just that's the hand that was dealt to them. Think about the hand that was dealt to us here in the United States of America as black folks. Think about the hand that was dealt to us. Think about the hand that was dealt to the Chinese, the coolies as they call them. Think about the hand that was dealt to the Mexicans dealing with white America. Of all those ethnic races, I think black folks have far and exceeded anything. You don't hear about too many Mexican lynchings. History in the United States hasn't been riddled with as much lynchings from of Chinese people. There's a place in Stone Mountain, Georgia, that black folks go to every holiday. They flock to Stone Mountain, Georgia, Stone Mountain Park, like it's a celebratory place. They out there with their families, barbecues, and not knowing If they knew the history of Stone Mountain, Georgia, there would not be a black person that would pay to drive through that gate and partake of a meal there. Because as a black person in the 60s, in the 50s, if they took you up Stone Mountain, you didn't come back down. The same thing with Lookout Mountain. If they took you up Lookout Mountain as a you didn't go up there as an onlooker. You was part of the entertainment for that night. You know how many countless people in the South disappeared going to Stone Mountain? You got to know your history to understand the value of what you do. And Jason Whitlock, that's what you try to do. You try to destroy our history on TV. You don't. I'm not like Willie D, my man. I don't need to resort to calling you names. Actual and factual. These words that I'm using came out of your mouth. You said it was a disrespectful inconvenience because that man got the nigger word painted on his house. And then you also said he shouldn't fear because the only thing they did was spray him and his family shouldn't have nothing to fear because of his money, because it was only spray paint that they used. Well, that's probably one of the main tactics of a terrorist first. Psychological warfare first. You know what that is, Jason Whitlock? You know what that is? That's part of terrorism. And see, the one thing about when I was in the Marine Corps, I understood at some point in time that the Marine Corps was not for me. I understood that. I some of the best. Listen, if anyone would ever walk up to me and call me a racist, I probably would pop them in their mouth, because some of the best men I've ever met in my life are not the same color of me. Some of the most honest men I've ever met in my life are not the same color of me. Surely not. And some of the most dishonest men that I've ever met in my life are the same color of me. Because I've run into both while I was in the Marine Corps. And decidedly, it's like the Malcolm X syndrome. Send in the guy that looks like him to destroy you. Pretend he's your friend. Collect all the information you can on him. Get as close to him as you can. Break bread with him if you can. Go to his house. Meet his wife. Meet his children. Hang out with him at the clubs. Infiltrate. And then we're going to destroy him with the information you give us. That's what happened to me. And that's what happened to countless other black men. Because that's what it takes to destroy a black man. They got to, first of all, they have to define they have to find your weakness. And that's just, I guess I can say that for any man. That's the only way they can destroy you. They have to find they have to find your weakness. And that's one of the calibers of a man. You have to understand that you do have weaknesses. And those are the borders, just like Donald Trump wants to put up borders. Those are the borders that you have to defend, your weaknesses. If you love blonde women, you have to defend yourself against blonde women. To know all blonde women that come after you is not coming after you for the best intentions. If you like short, dark-skinned, round women, know that all brown women are not. Those are your weaknesses. If you like to eat ice cream all freaking day, you know that's a weakness. No one likes to eat ice cream all day, so you have to identify that weakness and keep your weaknesses close. Just like your enemies. That's the worst thing that could happen sometime, folks. That you show your weakness to the public. Because sooner or later, somebody is going to exploit it. And it's usually going to be a friend of yours. It's usually going to be somebody you know that hurts you the worst. And in most of our cases, in my case, it's black men like that cat right there. Jason Whitlock. As we're talking, I want to speak about another dude. Oh my God. Here goes another cat, folks. This guy's name, now he's a reverend. This guy is a reverend. I appreciate that there, Mr. Willie D. And folks, let me give you a little information on Mr. Willie D. Go and subscribe to his channel there, folks. You can see at Willie D Live. This snippet that I'm using from him came out, he published it on June 2nd, 2017. So big up to you there, Mr. Willie D. Go check out his channel, folks. Make sure you like and subscribe to my man, because he does drop down some good knowledge on a whole lot of subjects, folks. I've listened to him quite some time there. So here we go. Let's go back to this guy right here. Like I said, his cat's a reverend here, right? And he's talking to another YouTuber by the name. This guy's name is he's from he does the advice show, and his name is, what's his name? Let me find it. Here we go, right here. Reverend Jesse Lee Patterson. And the guy that runs the advice show, his name is Philip Scott, and Advice Show TV. Exactly, it's what it is. He had a conversation. Him and Phil had a conversation. So I want you guys to listen to another coon, as I call it, in action.
Well, thank you for having me back on, Jesse. My name is Philip Scott. I want to make sure you put that down for the record.
Your name is what?
The last name is Scott, Philip Scott.
Oh, Philip Scott. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. My family name is Scott. We might be cousins.
Oh, boy. That's interesting.
Yeah, my grandfather last name is Scott. Or was Scott. He's gone now.
In Texas?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I have family members all over, everywhere now. So, welcome back. How have you been?
Oh, I can't complain. Can't complain at all.
Yeah.
We good.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about several things, as you know. What are you thinking about? Did you vote for President Trump?
No, I didn't.
And why not?
I didn't feel he was the candidate for me.
And why not?
Because I didn't agree with his positions on a lot of things.
Like what?
Such as I didn't agree with his stance on immigration. I didn't agree with his misogyny. I didn't agree with the way he was conducting his rallies. There's a lot of things I didn't agree with him on. So I felt that he shouldn't be the person, at least, that I would vote for. But if others chose to vote for him, that's them.
Now, what about illegal immigration that you disagree with him on?
If you are already
I didn't say I agree with him on that.
But that's what about immigration you disagree with him?
Well, I disagree with the way he wanted to do it. I feel that we have over 11 million people here in the country. They're paying over $11.6 billion in taxes that most people don't know about. I feel we need to create a path of citizenship for these people because they represent about 5% of our workforce as it is now. And let's say if you get rid of all the illegals today, all of them go, then you're going to have a problem like they had in Alabama when the governor had put in some strong laws against illegal immigrants. They ran out of the state of Alabama, and within 30 days, they wanted them to come back because they had no farm labor, because most Americans don't want to do farm labor.
First, I want to say it's more than 11 million. They've been saying 11 million for the last 30 years. It's definitely more than 11 million. So you're okay with the borders, with open borders, where illegal aliens from all over anywhere are able to just come in? That's no problem for you?
No, I never said the words I'm okay with open borders. That's something you said.
Yeah, I'm asking, are you okay with open borders?
No country should have just completely open borders, so we don't have an open border as it is now. They're coming over illegally in many different ways.
But they're mainly coming across the borders because, especially under the fallen Messiah, Barack Obama, he tied the hands of the Border Patrol, and these people just came in. Are you okay with President Trump?
Jesse, I have to interrupt you on that because Barack Obama did the DACA agreement, which stated that there was already here the children of illegal immigrants. But actually, Barack Obama deported more illegal immigrants than any other president in recent years.
Well, that's not true.
That is true, Jesse.
No, that's not true. I'm
Jesse,
asking though, do you?
Yes, he did deport more than anybody else. And President Trump even said that himself.
What he did was he changed the definition of deportation. But let me ask, are you personally okay with, no, let me ask this way. Are you okay with the president putting a big, beautiful wall around the borders to stop the illegals from coming in?
I'm going to put the reason why I wanted you to hear some of this guy, what I'm talking about. If you listen to him, you get the sense of, you know, when you first start listening to someone, folks, you kind of get a sense of what they're doing and what they're talking about and where they're going. And, you know, to me, again, this is something that someone said to me, hey, man, take a listen to this. And so here's what I'm listening to. I'm listening to a guy that's already I'm talking about Phil now, that's already on the defensive. If unsight unseen, you know, I didn't know that these two guys already had some kind of interaction. So if you go and take a look at this clip later on, I'll put the links in the description box later on both the guys, Willie D and this guy here. But you can tell that if you see the video and now that you can hear it, you can tell that the guy from the Advice Show was already geared for war. And why I said geared for war is because he understood what he was up against. He was up against someone that was there to discredit Black America. And he was ready to, Phil from the Advice Show was ready to defend Black America, so much that he, every time this Jesse character said something wrong or said something that he didn't agree with, Jesse Lee Patterson, I'm speaking of, he said, wait a minute, that's not right. Why would you say that? So now what I want to do, I want to go back and see if I can pick up. Well, I don't have to go back. I can pick it up from there. He said, he asked, did you vote for Donald Trump? And Phil politely said, no, I didn't. And he said, why? First of all, simply as it's put, one of the things that you have privilege to, that you don't have to tell anyone about, is your reasons why you decide to vote or not to vote for a candidate. That is your right to keep that private to yourself. You don't have to explain to anyone why I didn't vote for Donald Trump. You don't have to explain to anyone why I didn't vote for Barack Obama or why I did vote for Donald Trump. You don't have to. You choose to. So what Phil did, he chose to tell him some of the reasons why he didn't vote for Donald Trump. But Jesse Lee Peterson decided that those reasons weren't good enough. And he excused them. I mean, not excused them, he dismissed his reasons and didn't dwell on them any further. Okay, so one of the reasons why what Phil said is he didn't agree with his politics. He didn't agree with some of his issues. So he said he didn't agree with his immigration issues. And then Phil dropped a little knowledge on him that I'm not saying I'm correcting, but he's absolutely right. I can remember long before Barack was in the office that one of the things that folks used to talk about, you know, because they used to say the Mexicans is coming here taking all the jobs. Actually, they wasn't. They were just taking jobs that nobody wanted. To be quite honest with you, you know, back in when the so-called Mexican invasion so-called happened, just like they holler about the British invasion, but you notice the difference. When the British invasion was going on, they want to liken that to music. But when the so-called Mexican invasion is going on, they want to liken that to, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? The British came here and they took money. Mexicans came here and made money. There's a difference. So what I'm saying to you is, folks, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Phil is 100% right in everything that he says and everything but what I have to agree with him on that is, I don't agree with that business of building a wall. That's a waste of time. That's a waste of money. The money that it takes to build that wall can put 7,000 kids through college tax-free. You know what room, board, they can even feed them with the money that they want to spend to build that wall. That's just to build it. We're not talking about to maintain it for the history of it now, from now on. Because we know with all things, as long as you got the right amount of money, anything can happen. So you to me, Donald Trump, you're creating another problem, because not only it's not going to stop the illegal aliens. That's not the only place where illegal aliens are coming from. And folks, that's what folks don't say. Everybody want to focus on our southern borders. There's illegal aliens coming from Ireland. There's illegal aliens coming from Australia. There's illegal aliens coming from Japan. There's illegal aliens coming from Canada. There's illegal aliens coming from Britain. There's illegal aliens coming from everywhere. Now, I agree wholeheartedly that we need to protect our borders at all costs. That's what caused most. We can go back to the Trojan horse wars back then. You saw what happened to them, accepting the wrong gift. Devastated. And that's, to me, I want to liken Donald Trump to the Trojan horse. America, you thought Donald Trump was here to help you. But as you can see now, the very things that Donald Trump said that he was going to do is the very things that he's not doing. He said he wasn't going to cut Social Security, but he did. He said he was not going to cut education funding, but he did. He is. He even went so far as, folks, that this little known thing, that there was the First Lady Michelle Obama created what they call the women's, some kind of women's fund, to where, you know, all these major countries would put in a bunch of money, and they would go out and help women all over the world, you know, poor women all over the world. Cut. He said he wouldn't cut Medicare. Cut. He said he would drain the swamp. Remember that? That was his campaign promise. He would drain the swamps. So if you ask me why I didn't vote for Donald Trump, that would be my reason right there, because the man is a pathological liar. I wouldn't be as polite as Phil. But I'm gonna let you guys listen to this interaction between these two gentlemen a little bit more, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. Why I say some people are dangerous to Black America. I cannot believe this.
I don't think it would help.
Why not?
It won't help because I have people that I know personally work on the border, and all they're going to do is dig tunnels like they're already doing, and they got certain spots they can just even go around a wall. And then you're not talking about the landowners that's going to lose their land on eminent domain laws, and they will affect them. There's been many landowners down in the area of Brownsville, Texas, all the way up on the border side that will lose their land. And what about those Americans that own that land? I mean, they should just lose their land to the government?
Well, I've talked with and known a lot of those people around the Arizona area and other areas that would be happy to give up a little land in order to stop the illegals from coming in. Does it bother you, feel that the illegals are coming in and they end up in the urban areas, the Black communities for the most part, and they're taking low wages jobs away from Black men? They are, and even Black women, they are bringing in gang members from Mexico and other areas that are supported by the drug lords, and they're attacking Blacks and running them out of their own communities. In Compton, California, Watts, and other areas, East LA is out of control, and areas in Texas. They are overcrowding the schools and the Black communities, and hardly a day goes by where there's not a fight between the Blacks and the Mexicans, because the Blacks are feeling overwhelmed. It's just one bad thing after another. Does that bother you that the illegal aliens are affecting Blacks first and foremost?
Well, let me back up. where's your proof on how they're coming into black neighborhoods exclusively? Where you getting that from?
I
The
didn't
proof.
say exclusively. I said for the most part, they end up in the black community.
Okay, so
Are
you said the most part.
My
Wait,
question,
how
though,
much percent are we talking about
no,
here? Is
my
this a
question
theory of
is-
yours or this a fact? I'm trying to find out where you get that from so I
My-
can accurately answer you.
my question is, are you bothered by that at all?
No, but you didn't answer my question so I can properly answer you.
No, the question is quite clear. I need you to answer the question. Are you bothered
Okay,
by
so
does that
basically your
bother-
question is a theory.
No, it's not. It's a fact. I know it, and everybody, their mama
Okay.
knows it.
Well, no,
So,
you can't assume who's listening, Jesse, and who knows a fact and who don't. You the host, so I want to know from you so I can probably
I'm
answer you.
working-
Is it a percentage of these illegal immigrants coming into the black community, and where you getting that from? So I can answer you. That's all I want to do. I want to answer you properly.
I work in the black community. I know people around the country who live in the black community. They're experiencing it. And so if anyone doubt it, they can just go down there and find out for themselves. So are you bothered by that?
I do apologize for the background shout out there. I have my studio is upstairs and I'm adjacent to the family quarters downstairs. So at any time you might hear someone scream, "Stevie!" So I do apologize for that there. All right. Anyhow, getting back to what this Joker was just talking about. First of all, folks, let me say this. I've traveled the world 7 times. I've been around the world 7 times. And one thing I noticed about most folks, they tend to move to areas to where they're most comfortable in. Most blacks are comfortable living around black folks. That's why you have black communities. Most Mexicans are comfortable living around Mexicans. That's why you have Mexican communities. Now, at some point in time, some of the communities do overlap. The same thing in white communities. Most white folks are comfortable around their own folks. There's nothing wrong with that. Because actually, if you really look at it, that is Mother Nature. That is nature itself. You do not see, you might see, because in the Great Migration, you might see wildebeest and zebra in the same area. But normally when you see wildebeest, you see them traveling by themselves with groups of other wildebeest, the biggest migration in the world. So big that you can see it from space. I can even go as to deep, let's go undersea for a minute. When you see a school of fish, you see them schooling with their own. You see jacks schooling with jacks. You see sharks schooling with sharks. Even so much to the own species of hammerheads. You don't see hammerheads and tiger sharks schooling together. You don't see clownfish and angelfish schooling together, although they do interact in communities, i.e. the reef. And that's the same thing with black, white, brown communities. Yeah, we do interact. And yeah, our communities do overlap. But for the most part, folks, we live amongst each other because that is the inherent nature of animals, and that's what we are. We just happen to be some advanced animals. But that's just the inherent nature of Mother Nature. You tend to school with your own. So for someone to maybe at some point in time, maybe you get all these rich and famous folks, and they overanalyze stuff. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. I'm just a guy I'm so glad that I got a platform like YouTube here to be able to express my opinion, and hopefully someday that somebody will take a listen to. Maybe somebody in some kind of power that can say, you know what, this guy named, I was stumbling through the YouTube pages and I ran across this show called Chucktown State of Mind. A guy on there talking named Music. He made some pretty good damn sense. He put up some pretty good analogies for you. A lot of this stuff with this so-called, now think this guy's a so-called Reverend Jesse L. Peterson. He leads a congregation in the church. So imagine if he's talking to this guy from an advice show like this. Imagine what he's telling his congregation, his flock. Birds flock together. You see where I'm going with this, folks? Even so much so, folks, that when they see two, okay, there's so many. You can go to YouTube and you can see so many what they call animal oddities, to where a lion was taking care of a abandoned fawn. Instead of it doing the inherent thing to eat it, the lion tried to nurture it. Or you can also go in nature and see where an elephant, a male elephant, did all he could to protect a baby elephant. And he didn't interact with the baby elephant, but just because he understood that inherently I'm supposed to protect my own species, even though this baby ain't mine, it did. Now those are wild animals, folks, and we're supposed to be. We're social. We're the top of the food chain animals. We eat other animals. Sometimes other animals eat us. Let's be truthful about it. Sometimes we get ate by alligators, and sharks, and lions, and tigers, and bears, and shit. But for the most part, y'all get what I'm saying with this, right? You can't put yourself in a situation to where, and I think I heard this yesterday, and it might have been D.L. Hughley that said this, that you can transcend your people. And that's what Stephen A. Smith, Jesse Lee Patterson, and this other guy, Jason Whitlock, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to transcend. They're trying to be more than what they think that what their people are. They're trying to forget that, you know what, if I can talk bad about blacks, folks will forget that I am black. And I can transcend being black. I can assimilate myself in the white world with no problem. I can do that by denigrating and downgrading other black folks. And that's just what these guys are doing. Well, some of them do it willingly. And here's the thing. I want to go to this next clip where Dr. Jesse Lee Peterson says that black people are in denial. But this time, he has with him a woman by the name of Cynthia G. And I think Cynthia G is a black woman YouTuber. And kind of controversial from what I understand. So I'll let you listen to a little bit of this and we'll get right on with it. Probably going to break into a commercial here first and foremost.
Back in April of 2015, so if you go to the Onyx Truth website and do a search for a podcast titled OTP 57, Coon Train is Coming, you'll hear my commentary on Jesse Lee Peterson when he made an appearance on the Sean Hannity show. But real talk, I know the word coon is grossly overused these days to the point where it appears to be rather ineffective, since too many black people just toss the word out there all willy-nilly without using the word in its proper context. But in regards to Jesse Lee Peterson, there truly is no other way to describe this so-called black man, as you will hear in the audio that I'll be playing in a few minutes. Now, if you've never heard of this woman named Cynthia G., she's a black woman out of Seattle, Washington, who's rather popular on YouTube for giving her commentary on mainly topics surrounding racism and white supremacy. My personal views about the woman are basically so-and-so, meaning I'm a fan of her channel thanks to a fan of the Onyx Truth Facebook fan page telling me about her, but I'm not 100% a fan of her due to certain views she holds in regards to us biracials. And you all know how I feel about us light-skinned mixed people out there. But all in all, I'll say I co-sign about 60 to 65% of her content. But regardless, for those of you out there who want to hear a black woman talk about the struggles of black society from a black woman's perspective, then I highly encourage you to subscribe to her YouTube channel. Now, I'm about to play some audio from this debate these two had, mostly over the subject of white supremacy. And as you listen to this debate, you're going to notice almost immediately how willfully ignorant this Jesse Lee Peterson guy is, to the point where He gets rather downright disrespectful to this black woman that he has invited onto his show as his guest. His flat out disrespect to this woman by literally calling her names on his show proves why people like Jesse Lee Peterson are forever in favor of those in a dominant society for going above and beyond to maintain the status quo in favor of blatant racism and white supremacy, even in the face of pure facts. The "I'm white and I say so" is not just purely restricted to just white people, as you will hear as Cynthia G quotes direct facts from the FBI. The "I'm white and I say so" rule is also the mindset of these coons running wild who are doing anything within their so-called power to maintain their position of white favor in order to keep the pats on the head rolling in. So, without further ado, check out this interview and I'll be back on the other end.
All right, folks, welcome back. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. We are like doing a Thursday/Friday show, so it's open line Thursday for Friday, but it's really Thursday. And since we're doing the best of tomorrow and Monday is Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day in advance. I am Scotty. She's a popular YouTube personality from Seattle, Washington. She talks about white supremacy and the psychology of black oppression. Cynthia was referred to us by Phil Scott of The Advice Show, and we had Phil on last week. I want to talk to Cynthia about racism, men, marriage, mother, and the whole deal. Welcome to the show, Cynthia. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, and thank you, Jesse, for having me here.
Sorry about the mix up there, whatever going on with the Skyping, but we have it now and we can get rolling. I want to know, define white supremacy for me.
Well, white supremacy, by definition, is a mentality. Anyone who believes by speak, action, and thought that white people are supreme and should therefore be placed in a dominant position to non-whites and should be subjugating them. So that's white supremacy. And I do believe that anyone can be a white supremacist, by the way. I don't believe that only white people are white supremacists because it is a mentality.
Here it is. Here's my definition of white supremacy, folks. White supremacy is a religion. Let's not get that. Let's get it. That's the only religion that there's no book written for, because it's ever changing. It changes every day. The rules of white supremacy change every day to meet the criteria that's in front of them and the people they need to dominate. And I kind of disagree with Cynthia G when she says that anyone can be a white supremacist. No, everyone can't be a white supremacist. That's like saying everyone can be a pro basketball player. No, not everyone can be a pro basketball player. Not every white person in the United States can be considered as a white supremacist, because in order for that, the core thing of racism, folks, and what folks seem to get away from, it's not the name calling. The core thing of racism is the ability to stop people from being able to thrive. You have to be in a position. You know, if someone walks down the street, call me nigger, yeah, it's gonna hurt my feelings, but I'm not gonna get fired from it. I'm not gonna get fired because Joe Smoke down the road called me a nigger. No, I'm not going to get fired for that. But what I can say is, you know, now if you want to call Donald Trump a white supremacist, you can, because he's in a position to change and control thousands of lives, millions of lives. So that, by definition of what Donald Trump is doing and his minions, that is what the religion of white supremacy is. It's a belief. Just as in Judaism, Christianity, it's a belief. You can't touch either one of them, but it's as real as the wind that blows outside. You can't touch the wind, but tell me you ain't never experienced it before. We're going to go back to some more Jesse.
And how do you know when someone believes that white people are supreme?
Because their speech and behavior will reflect that belief, that thought process.
Give me an example of their speech that indicates that they are white, that they believe whites are supreme.
I can give you some examples of some white supremacists. How about Richard Spencer, Donald Trump? What I believe is most white Americans are white supremacists, and there are some non-white Americans who are also white supremacists. For example, them having the belief system in justifying and defending the disenfranchisement of Black people. Actually, Jesse, I would say that you're a white supremacist based on your rhetoric.
So why call it white supremacy? Why don't you just call it supremacy?
Because it's in favor of white people specifically. So that's why it's white supremacy.
Oh, I see. Give me an example of Donald Trump being a white supremacist.
All of his rhetoric from his entire campaign.
Like what, for an example?
You saw his campaign. He ran it completely on.
I'll give you an example of Donald Trump's white supremacy. Way back in the 70s, folks, Donald Trump was he was in charge of some apartment complexes that his father said, okay, I'm going to give you these apartment complexes to run. The only stipulation to you, do whatever you want to, but you can't rent to black folks. So what Donald Trump did, he told all the secretaries, this is true fact, you can go fact check this, everyone that worked in there, that any time a black person came to any of his properties, you go through the natural, the process of interview them and all that other stuff. But as soon as they leave, file 13 their application. 9 times out of 10, they won't come back. Or you tell them there's such a high price that they won't even, they can't afford it, and they won't come back anyway. So that's an example of what white supremacists do. So if you ask me an example, that's an example she should have cited, not of his campaign rhetoric. We can go way back to that. We all know what his campaign rhetoric was about. We all know that. But you got to take it way back in order for folks to be actual and factual with this cat Jesse Lee Patterson. You got to take him way back to you got to take him back to the old school with this cat. Because remember, back in 1970, you probably look from the looks of Jesse Lee Patterson. He probably was just starting out. He probably was a teenager in the 70s. And so he probably been one of those teenagers that might have been in New York or in one of Donald Trump's properties that got turned down just simply because he was black. Or he could have gone to some other properties and got turned down just simply because he was black. Now, if he was in the military, he could have understood that he could have been assigned to a certain company just because he was black. If you look at the military book, folks, that's one of the most that's white supremacist training ground, and that's one of the things I realized later on in life. That's why after 10 years, if I hadn't gotten into that piff with the Marine Corps side of it, I was gone anyway, because it took me 10 years to wake up to it. It took me 10 years to understand that, where they had this so-called these meritorious promotions. And with all the stuff that I was doing that I felt, that I should have never been passed over for a meritorious promotion, meaning that you went through a little board and you had a little interview, and 4 or 5 of you went through, and you went from your immediate group to another group, then to the headquarters. And each time, first of all, it took me, I'd say, 7 years to even be considered for a meritorious promotion, considering the things that I brought to the table. And then when I was finally to the point to where I was meritoriously thought about, I was summarily shot down, because here's the question, folks, and I was the only one and I remember this like it was yesterday. The question was, what is the street name where Group Supply is on? When I answered the question, every member of that board eyes popped open. And I didn't realize the impact of how answering that question, what I did to myself by answering that question. That told those members of that board that I was paying attention to everything about my surroundings, even to the road that I take to go to work. Right now, Tommy is the name of that street that I turned down every morning to go to work at 7:30 at Marine Corps Air Station Group Supply. And out of the 15 people that was on that board that had to turn down that same road every morning, I was the only one that knew that street name. And that was dangerous for them. At some point in time, they had an epiphany, and it didn't take me. It took me 30 years to have that same epiphany, that I was dangerous. I was dangerous to their way of thinking because I stood out. My troops paid attention to me. My troops came to me for answers. My troops came to me for results. And they stopped coming to them. They stopped answering them questions because they knew they were going to get a straight and legit an answer from me. The day I picked up sergeant was the day that my trouble started in the Marine Corps. As long as I was an underling to someone that I didn't have to, that any answer that I gave to someone could have been summarily discharged, they had no problem with that. But as soon as I came into a position of a little bit of power to where, as we all know, the sergeant is the backbone of the Marine Corps. We teach young Marines everything. From drilling, go to the drill field. The main rank that teaches young Marines is sergeants. You might have a few staff sergeants sprinkled in there. You might have a few corporals sprinkled in there, but they got to be water walkers, as we call them. They would be considered for that. And as many times as I applied to go onto the drill field, there was always a reason why. You got to go on a deployment. You got to go here. You got to go here. Each time that it was time for that board to convene to decide to go to who was going to go to the drill field this month, I was summarily shipped off somewhere. Hindsight being 2020. Not me not knowing, I didn't understand what was happening. Because for those who know me, they know I'm from a small town in South Carolina, and that I knew that at 8 o'clock, or let's put it this way, at sundown, I knew to be in the house. When I saw the radio beacon light come on, that little red light at the top, and if it was on and I was outside, I needed to be in a state of panic, especially if I was far from home. I need to be at a heightened sense of awareness, because at any time I could be accosted simply for being black and being outside after dark. So don't tell me about what white supremacy is, and don't tell me that racism don't exist, because it fucking does.
White supremacy. So if you look at even Donald Trump's actions right now by aligning himself with the alt-right and white supremacists such as Jeff Sessions, who have a record of disenfranchising black people, that he's a white supremacist, making the statement that black people are lazy and good for nothing but stealing, that would be a white supremacist statement. Making the false statement that Mexicans are over in America raping when white males have the highest rate of rape, that's white supremacy, because it's ignoring the fact it's ignoring facts and basing your mentality and your whole speech off of rhetoric that is completely false, but it's in favor of white people.
You're not really saying anything. Give me an example of Donald Trump.
Well, it's not that I'm not saying it, Jesse. You're just not comprehending it, and I can't think for you or comprehend for you. I just gave you plenty of examples.
Give me an example of something that President Trump said or did that indicate that he is a white supremacy.
For example, the public housing lawsuits that he was sued for and settled twice for discrimination against black people, that would be an example of immediate and direct white supremacy. Beyond that, if you still don't understand it, Jesse, me further explaining it to you wouldn't be a benefit. And then I would have to ask you to move to the next question.
You really are not.
And there it is, right there, folks. That's the thing, and I'm gonna have to wind this down here in just a little bit. I wish I had a little bit more time, but I have some business I need to take care of, and I need to get ready for my 8 o'clock show tonight. So with that, I'm just gonna say this to folks like Jesse Lee Patterson, and big ups to you, Cynthia. You didn't. Ignore what I said earlier. I just beat you to the punch on that one. But big ups to you for bringing up the racial discrimination suits against Donald Trump in the 1970s, which she was definitely referring to, folks. So thank you very much for that. But in this case, you got folks Jesse Lee Patterson, Stephen A. Smith, and the list goes on, folks. The sheriff, again, you had this guy that I was just referring to, countless other folks, Omarosa. You got countless other black people that don't understand that you can't outrun or you can't ascend from being black. That's it. That's the core of who you are right there. You cannot change your skin color. You even if you do change your skin color, there's you always hear this riff in the black community: light skin black versus dark skin black. What the fuck is that about? You're still black. The guy that was talking earlier, Onyx the Truth, who was part of this podcast here, he said that himself. He calls himself the light skinned hero. Light skinned hero of what? It's stuff like that. That when we divide ourselves, our own communities, by using monikers like that, or putting that stuff out there in the street, or constantly catfighting amongst which black America is better. That's the division that they need. Like I said, all you got to do is when you have a weakness, you have to protect that weakness at all costs, and that's a weakness in the black community. But it's clearly displayed on TV, VH1, BET, ABC, NBC. It's displayed every night, black on black against black, lights against blacks, the talls against the smalls, the fats against the stacks. Come on now, that's what it is. For those folks that I say to you, sooner or later you'll understand that you cannot transcend being black. Just as a white man can't transcend being white, just as a Puerto Rican man can't transcend being Puerto Rican. You can only go achieve the greatness of your collective as a whole. You can't leave your people behind. You might separate yourself from them, but you still are a black man. There's no change in that. And by spouting the rhetoric that you do, that doesn't change the fact that doesn't change your skin color. That just makes you look more asinine than you really are. Because now you got somebody on the other side that one day you're gonna try and want to come back to black America, and we're gonna tell you, man, hell no. Ask Stacey Dash. You haven't heard shit from Stacey Dash since that we don't need to have a black holiday anymore. What? The mere fact that things were created. They were created because we didn't have colleges that we could send our children to. We created historical black colleges. We created those to give our kids higher educations. We didn't have black banks. We tried to create a black Wall Street, and when it became thriving and successful, white America dropped a bomb on it and blew it down. Folks think the first time that a bomb was dropped in the United States was on Move. No, the first time it was dropped right there in Black Wall Street. Check it out. Check the dates. One happened in '85. The other one happened, in the 60s, I believe, 70s, I believe. Come on, folks. Anyway, folks, I gotta tune down here. Thank you very much for those of you tuned in and listening. I'll be back later on the air, later on the evening. I'll be playing some smooth R&B, some light rock, and some smooth jazz there to wind down your weekend there. So join me at Golden Grooves Radio, or you can join me right here. I'll be doing a live show from right here. I'll be broadcasting that music right here from beautiful YouTube as well, from the beautiful port city of Charleston, South Carolina. If you want to, folks, click over to the Angry Man channel over there. His topic right now is the main reason feminists have so much power, and I think I'm going to drop in on him for just a little bit, but I definitely got to shut this down here. So appreciate y'all listening. Have a good night, folks, and I'll see you later on. Thank you very much.